Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Coffee and Headlines, our morning get together live here on Facebook, where we examine headlines from our city, our state, and our country. And we take a look at your comments, ideas, and suggestions so that we can combine all this information, all this knowledge, and improve the quality of our lives and our connections here in Puerto Vallarta as a community of English-speaking locals. It is always a pleasure to get together with you. And today, on Friday, March 18, it is no exception. We are just so happy that another week is over.
Thank God it's
Absolutely. So we have, as always, so excited to hear from friends that are joining us for the first time. If that is your case, please let us know that you are new by simply writing the word new in your comment, and we will give you a nice little welcome. If you have something truly important to share that we should not miss, it helps a great deal if you add a capital letter Q at the beginning of your comment. That way we will not miss it. And of course, as always, we will get to your comments in the second half of the broadcast. Today we start with important news. Our governor, Enrique Alfaro, was in town yesterday, and he offered his weekly press conference from Puerto Vallarta, so we will be breaking that down. Kate wants to know what my shirt says. I'm wearing a music shirt today. Jazz it up. Today is my jazz t-shirt day because it's Friday, and I'm going to go listen to live music today, and I'm really excited about that. So I think we can get started. We are going to have, again, news about our governor. We're going to learn a little bit. We're going to learn one very important word about Mexican political lingo, and you are going to hopefully help me out in finding the English counterpart to that word. We also have, what else do we have? Boom, bum, bim, bum, boom. We have news about free COVID tests, about Mexico City Airport. We have some funny stuff going on. We had a very, very important VIP influencer spotted at a local supermarket. Who was he and what is he doing here? And of course, we have our walk around. We're going to go exploring the Naval Museum, which I mentioned yesterday. We had taken some footage in the museum. I was concerned that the footage would be a little bit too dark, but it turned out to be quite lovely. So we might as well get the whole show going on. Okay, we're going to start with an important definition. What do we see on the screen? We see two crickets. One is whispering at the other. Cricket in English is grillo, and a female cricket would be a grilla. Well, in Mexico, grilla is a very popular word in politics. In Spanish, we refer to la grilla as the expression of gossiping and slandering that takes place in political, union, and business environments when individuals are attempting to obtain personal gain while creating obstacles for their rivals. Is there a word for this in English? I'm familiar with filibustering, but in my mind, and I could be wrong, filibustering has more to do with speaking at inordinate length, which in Spanish would be the equivalent of engaging in guiri guiri. So I wonder, what do you call grilla in English? And why is this relevant today? Well, it so happens that, again, yesterday after our broadcast, I watched Governor Alfaro's press conference. It lasted 1 hour. I listened to the whole thing and I loved it because whenever the governor is in town, he usually gets asked questions that have to do with what's going on in our city. And this was precisely what happened. And I said to myself, well, tomorrow I will take a look at the headlines, and I don't need to take notes right now because the headlines from tomorrow will be helpful for me to bring you a summary. But the headlines this morning were so full of grilla that it really is exhausting. It's exhausting to see how much local news people and journalists are more concerned in the grilla than they are concerned with sharing the facts. And that led me thinking this morning, well, I cannot really communicate what the reporter said or thought he heard. Instead, I went back and I listened to the entire press conference again, and I took my own notes because I think you deserve this. You deserve the actual facts. So I'm going to tell you exactly what is it that the governor announced. So back to me. The governor was asked about, first of all, about the situation with a local city hall union leader who is now expected to pay over 5 million pesos back to the city, and whether we could expect to see more manifestations that would interfere on our daily lives. And his answer was that the situation between the union leader and the municipality is being handled by the Pensions Institute. The state government does not get involved. Governor Alfaro said clearly there is an irregular situation that should be researched, but here he said, I don't understand why they're marching and blocking traffic on the street. It shouldn't be something that affects the citizens. It's been, and then the governor did say that it's been a tough 2 years to restart the economy in the state. So it is unfortunate that there is any political grilla going on when everybody should be more focused on improving our lives. Then the governor was asked about the Federación Bridge. This is a bridge that has been built to connect the states of Jalisco and Nayarit, and it is incomplete. And it is incomplete right at the border with Nayarit. And so when Governor Alfaro was asked why the bridge is not finished and what he was doing about it, Governor Alfaro quickly replied, the bridge is a commitment made by President Andrés Manuel López Obrador with federal resources, and Jalisco accepted that Nayarit would administer those resources. Unfortunately, the Nayarit's previous administration did not deliver. They did not build the bridge as they were supposed to deliver it. And the federal government has not said anything about this. So what our governor did is essentially say, this has nothing to do with Jalisco. We did our share. The project was developed and it didn't happen. or it hasn't happened. Then Governor Alfaro was asked to discuss a little bit of the Quale Bridge, the Insurgentes Bridge, and he said that it became a little complicated because the original plan had to be modified to allow pedestrians to go under the bridge, and we already knew that. Then there were some delays in the sourcing of some of the long beams that were brought into Puerto Vallarta so that they could continue doing the building. And it took longer than anticipated. We already know that. But Governor Alfaro will be back in Puerto Vallarta during the first week of April to inaugurate the new Insurgentes Bridge. This is why they're working so hard. And then Governor Alfaro also reminded us that it is worth remembering that when Hurricane Nora hit last year, the federal government did not deliver any relief funds. So the state of Jalisco had to rely on self-managed insurance funds that were only delivered 10 days ago. If the state of Jalisco had not invested in its own insurance against natural catastrophe, the bridge would not even have happened, the reconstruction of the bridge, because federal funds never showed up. In addition, the governor announced that a support package is being developed to continue helping local vendors that work at the Quale market. Then Governor Alfaro was asked about the vehicle verification. We know that that a lot of locals, including the government or some of the council members of the government, have been against verification because it's yet another expense that we'll have to consider. And my personal take had been, well, verification is important because it has to do with the environment and with global warming. So it seems like my hunch was correct when they asked the governor about this. The governor kind of like rolled his eyes and said, who can possibly be against the state and the municipality's commitment to address the needs related to climate change? Because this is the reason why the verification program is being instituted. And he reminded us that Guadalajara was recently awarded a major accolade in Glasgow as one of 3 cities in the world that is spearheading positive changes, along with Paris and another city in Denmark. So whoever doesn't want clean air, and particularly for a tourism destination like Puerto Vallarta, is showing a lack of vision. He said, a better environment is good for everyone, and the least everyone can do is ensure that their vehicle is part of the solution and not part of the problem. Now, this is a good point to show you this particular headline. This is the only one that I'm going to show you. The headline reads, Alfaro, the government, doesn't care about the opinion of Vallartenses. And that's not what the governor said. Of course, the governor cares about our opinion, but the governor said we are making no exceptions for verification. We want the whole state to have clean air, and Puerto Vallarta cannot be an exception. So in this particular case, whoever wrote this note wrote it accurately, but whoever was the editor clearly chose to go with a headline that was more scathing. And it is headlines like that that led me to put together my own summary. So I'm going to continue with that with your permission. Governor Alfaro was also asked about our 2 estuaries, the El Salado estuary and the Boca Negra estuary, which is where Boca de Tomates is. And the governor announced that as far as the El Salado estuary is concerned, funds are already in place to finish its remodeling and its improvement during this year. And he asked our Mayor Michel, to develop a project that helps understand the needs of fishermen co-ops and others affected in Boca Negra, where we know that Vidanta is moving in quite closely, and we don't know exactly how things are going to work out for people over there. Then Governor Alfaro was asked what he is doing to maintain Puerto Vallarta as a top beach tourism destination in the country. And Alfaro answered that he's proud that Jalisco has done so well with the pandemic and that economic recovery is being spearheaded by our state and the state of Nuevo León. And then he said what we need to do, the state government, is to maintain constant contact, and also with Nayarit. There are things that need to be addressed, such as the name changes that are being proposed in Nayarit, but it is needed to work with them as well. And it's not only about what tourism sees, it's also about where and how people, us locals, live. So these are two very different agendas, and both need a lot of attention. So Alfaro is hoping to meet with the Nayarit governor in the near future to see what is really going on in terms of security and in terms of what is going on with these name changes. Alfaro was also asked about the recent changes in health mandates, which we announced yesterday or the day before. And Alfaro replied that the health board will meet again, the Jalisco State Board will meet again after Semana de Pascua, which is the week after Semana Santa. Governor Alfaro was also asked, is there a plan to prevent situation caused by natural disasters or weather like last year? And Alfaro replied that presently the government is taking care of the dry season and the ensuing fires. So they're hoping to start working in prevention for the rain season after Semana de Pascua. And this will start with an evaluation of properties here in Puerto Vallarta that are in potential danger due to their specific location. Alfaro was also asked about security and video cameras in the city, and he replied that we have 68 video cameras in place throughout the city, and that the statistics seem to indicate that security is doing well in our city. We don't have major crime problems. The second stage of security cameras will be implemented in the future with more cameras added. He was also asked about Medina Asensio, about the laterals, and he replied that there's already 30 million pesos budgeted to work on the northbound laterals and continue to the remodeling and continuing to look for additional funds. Alfaro was also asked about the highway from Guadalajara, and he was really funny because we know that President Lopez Obrador was just in town, and Alfaro chuckled and he said, well, I was not invited to tour the highway when the president was in town. So Alfaro really doesn't know much about what's going on. We know that the highway is important for our state, but what is missing now is in the state of Nayarit, and again, it's in federal hands. Curiously enough, there was a specific question for our mayor, for Mayor Michel, as we reported a couple of days ago. Workers for the city that were promised that they would not get any discounts in any penalties in their salaries, they received a 2-day penalty, and our mayor indicated, well, my instructions were that the workers will not be penalized, and clearly my instructions were not followed, so they will be followed. The workers will get paid for those 2 days, said our mayor in front of our governor. So were the original statements that workers were not going to be paid, was it grilla or was it real? Who knows? But this was my quick and dirty report, well, not so quick, I'm afraid, on what our governor had to say when he was here in town yesterday. Moving on to other news, Puerto Vallarta's administration has just announced availability of free COVID tests to be offered by the local DIF, or Integral Family Development Office, at a new COVID detection center located in Barrio Santa Maria. I have the address. I would show it to you in a map, but unfortunately Google Maps was acting up this morning. But as soon as Google Maps is back in working order, I will add the location of this new detection center to our reference map so that you can have it. All you're going to need to get a free COVID test there is to make a phone call and make an appointment. And I also wanted to let you know that President Lopez Obrador announced that once the new Felipe Ángeles International Airport in Mexico City begins operating this coming week, permits for new flights landing in the Benito Juárez Airport will no longer be granted. Moving forward, any airline that attempts to introduce new routes to Mexico City will have to fly into the new airport, effectively phasing out the existing airport gradually moving forward. And I wanted to share that because somebody remarked yesterday that the new Felipe Ángeles Airport was a supplementary airport in Mexico City, and everything seems to indicate that it is the opposite. let us now take a quick look at the weather we can expect for this weekend. Your significant other is thinking about leaving you. Good news? Bad news? Who knows? Well, I don't have a significant other than my kitty cat, so I'm not going to worry about that. What I'm going to worry about is that it is 27 degrees right now. Humidity, I don't think we've reported a humidity as low as 20% ever before. And our temperature in Fahrenheit degrees is 80. Our weather forecast for today, we're going to have a clear day. High temperature of 30, low temperature of 16. Saturday, tomorrow, we'll have another clear day with a high temperature of 31, low temperature 18. Sunday will be partly cloudy with a high temperature of 31 and a low temperature of 18 degrees Celsius. Moving right along, we have reported about this before, about the union leader. Oh, these words that sound like they shouldn't sound. The union, the guy that runs the union, and the 5 million pesos that he needs to report to the administration. We have reported on this before, but I wanted to show you the first word of this headline. What is the first word of this headline? It's tómala. And I wanted to show you that just so you don't think that I'm making up all these expressions. So I got a chuckle when the paper reported tómala. The union leader is against the wall. He has to return 5 million pesos. I also want to let you know that operatives against the in-driver platform are expected to intensify during Semana Santa and Semana de Pascua. As we know, the platform has not seen eye to eye with the state government as yet and is operating illegally in our city and our state. So if you are going to be using a platform to get around, Uber and Didi are safer choices. I also want to let you know that Shrek, a popular influencer ogre known to embark on journeys with a donkey sidekick and a princess named Fiona, was spotted at Soriana Pitillal in the produce section, no less. It is not known how long he will remain in town or who he is chasing after. And that is our broadcast for today, with the exception of our Naval Museum walk around that we promised. And here it is. Hello, everyone. I'm standing right outside of the Naval Museum, the Museo Naval, right here on the Malecón. It recently reopened for visits, and we are hopefully going to take a walking tour just to see what they have. For starters, I'm seeing that general admission is 45 pesos. Seniors can go in for 30, students for 30, and so forth. Muy buenas tardes, jefe. ¿Se puede pasar a visitar? ¿Aquí?
Hoy es gratis.
¿Hoy es gratis? ¿Y luego?
Todos los miércoles son gratis.
Ah. So I've just found out that it is free on Wednesday, so I'm going to sign up. Paco Ojeda from Jalisco. La fecha de hoy es y una persona y ok, muchísimas gracias. Gracias, con permiso. Okay, for starters, it's air conditioned. Now, this is a little dark, and I hope that it'll be bright enough.
It was.
For you to be able to see. The nice thing that I'm seeing is that everything that I see written down is written down in English and in Spanish, which is good. There is an interesting depiction of pre-Hispanic navigation. And here we see information about different maritime routes that were used in Mexico.
Trade routes.
There's some information about what was going on at the Texcoco Lake right outside of Mexico City. Some history of when Cortés arrived in Tenochtitlan. Wow.
Not a Halloween costume.
Then information about the route that existed between Mexico and China. Interesting.
There's a lot of projectors throughout the whole museum.
The origins of Mexico's army. Huh. Interesting. That will be me over there. And here's a beautiful reproduction of an old vessel. Some information about Maximilian and the Navy. The foundation of the Naval School. And the infrastructure of the years in which Porfirio Diaz remained in office for decades. There are a number of interactive stations that can be explored. And a big exhibit of orientation using the stars. You will not be able to appreciate this, but this is an area where everything is covered with stars, and there are explanations of how early sailors used to use specific instruments to be able to navigate.
Mechanic
Restrooms, of course, which we've heard are very comfortable to use. ¿Tienen más exhibiciones arriba? Qué bueno, gracias, con permiso. There's more upstairs. Ah, look at that. Interesting, beautiful. It says do not pass, so we will go this way. Ah, it continues this way. Beds.
And I suppose reading the little notes would tell you why they're showing them. Check out the flag.
More information
That's
about
an
the
old
different
flag.
confrontations that have taken place in Mexico.
That's an older flag because now the eagle is depicted differently.
And again, I'm walking through this just to give you a gist as to what to expect. But as I've mentioned earlier, all the explanations are both in Spanish and English. So you can take your time visiting the museum. And really getting everything.
Some formal wear used at one point or another, and battle wear as well. And here's a little timeline that starts in 1821 and continues all the way to 2014, when the Naval Museum in Mexico City was opened. And here we have scale versions of some of the vessels that Mexico has. And behind me, doesn't seem to be on right now, is a whole interactive thing in which you can navigate your own ship.
And crash it.
These are some of the school boats that, well, not boats, but, here we go. These are sailing school ship that are owned by Mexico's Navy for young students. And the one thing that I can see is that the cafeteria that used to exist in the upper level is no longer up here. It has been moved downstairs. Still, we're going to take a look at it just to see what they offer.
And if YouTube bans my video because of this background music, I'll be so sad.
Ajá. And the cafeteria. Buenas tardes.
Hola, buenas tardes.
¿Cómo le va?
Bien, gracias.
It's a gift shop. So there's all kinds of things that you can purchase. ¿Estos de aquí qué son? ¿Son toallas?
Son toallas.
Oh, beautiful towels.
¿Qué? ¿Las puede ver?
A ver. ¿Cuánto cuesta?
Estas están en 250, creo.
250 pesos for this beautiful towel. Me parece muy bien.
Sí.
And then there's a small area to sit. Buenas tardes, buen provecho. There's a small restaurant here, which is absolutely comfortable. It's air conditioned and quite a nice place to sit down. ¿Puedo checar su menú?
Sí. Ajá, sí.
I'm asking to look at the menu. Qué amable, muchas gracias. So check it out. They have coffee and several beverages. They have desserts like fried plantains. They have a number of enchiladas and omelets and things like that. Everything is very affordably priced. So this might be a good place to check out. Qué amable, muchísimas gracias. Con permiso. So it's nice to see that this facility is open again and that we can all come in here and enjoy it. And this pretty much wraps up. Oh, there you go. Macrame lovers, here's how it's done. Okay, so that was it. Let me get back outside. Con permiso, muchas gracias. And that was my quick and dirty visit of the Naval Museum. If you find yourselves in this part of town, be sure to check it out. And remember that it is free on Wednesdays. And now we are signing off. Ciao.
Ciao. And that was that. I hope you enjoyed this quick and dirty. Again, to really get the gist as to what Mexico's Navy is about, and specifically why we have a Naval Museum in Puerto Vallarta, it's best to take advantage of all the bilingual legends that are located throughout the museum. So feel free to go and explore it and enjoy it sometime in the near future. Let me now take a quick look at your comments. Lots of hellos and good mornings as always, and very much appreciated, of course. I showed you my shirt. Da 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 da. Mutt to Mex. What do you think? I'm moving to Mexico the end of April. I am a very young, straight, 60-year-old man looking for happiness. Vallarta or Bucerias? Thank you. Great info. That is such an open-ended question. Mutt to Mex, it's not even funny. Vallarta is a big city. Bucerias is not. It really depends on what you're looking for. But just know that for starters, Puerto Vallarta is a big city. Bucerias is a tiny town. Feel free to stick around. Feel free to keep joining our broadcast. Feel free to ask more specific questions. When I moved down here because I was looking for 6 things, I think. English-speaking community, an artsy location, a gay location, a small town in the Pacific Ocean with internet, and that's how I ended up in Puerto Vallarta. So my suggestion is to come down with a list of must-haves and take it from there. I see your versions of grilla, backstabbing, mudslinging, Machiavellian. Interesting. Liz asks me, are you going to the jazz festival or another live event? Wish I was going to be there this coming week. I think the Cuates y Cuetes Jazz Festival is coming up. I have not seen any signs of it on Facebook or any headlines to that effect. I did hear from a musician this morning that is coming into town to give some clinics, and I told him that I would get in touch with him to learn some specifics, and that's exactly what we're going to do. Catherine says it's a little sexist to use a feminine form since most of the politicians in Mexico are and have always been men. I have nothing to add to that, Catherine. If you think it's sexy, send them a letter. Let's see what else. Ramon just joined in with a membership. Ramon, thank you very much for your support. Thank you so very much. Eric says that gays throw shade, and that would be gay grilla, and political smear, and that would be political grilla. Interesting. Let's see. Huh? I have no idea. David must live in acronym city because I have no idea what PDX/VC space I5 means, but good for you. Let's see what else. Grilla, Javier says it's noise, but I think it's more specific. Actually, the phrase probably comes from the sound the crickets make, that it's incessant. Let's see what else. Oh, there's Brandon from Eyes on Earth. Yes, that's exactly where we're going to be. We're going to be tonight listening to Eyes on Earth at Rey de Copas, I believe is the name of the venue. We announced it yesterday. If you have nothing else to do tonight, please join us, 7 o'clock. There's no cover. Live rock by one of our city's best bands, one of the finalists for the So You Think You Can Rise competition. Did Alfaro speak about the road repairs into Buenos Aires/Paso Ancho? He did not. But we announced an update about that yesterday. So there you have it. Let's see what else. I feel like Alfaro thinks our city as the naughty rebelde problem child of the state, and he may be onto something. I have my own personal opinion on that, Logan, and I think, and I've voiced this before, and this is my very unprofessional, this is just my gut. Puerto Vallarta is a city. If Puerto Vallarta is run by people that have city thoughts, not little town thoughts, I think Puerto Vallarta would be a much better place. But I do think that a lot of people that make decisions for our city And a lot of people that report about our city continue to do so with a small town mentality. That's just me. You can throw shade at me if you want. Let's see what else we have. Then your comments about the Naval Museum. Thank you very much. It really is a worthwhile place to enjoy. Lots of kudos for the museum. Thank you very much. I'm so glad you're enjoying it. Javier asks, what is the fee for the rest of the week? I believe we announced that at the beginning of the tour. I believe it was 40 pesos. But I can't remember. If you rewind to the beginning of the walk around, or if you look for the walk around later on today on YouTube, you will find an answer to your question. And let's see. Harold says the museum looks more modern now than when we visited many years ago. Nice job. Well, again, it's nice to see that these things are being done like a city facility, not a small town facility. And that brings us to the end of our broadcast for today. Thank you very much for joining us. As always, it is a pleasure to see you, and it is a pleasure to rely on your comments and your questions to bring back answers and more content as we continue to develop our broadcasts. I hope you have a great Friday. Again, if you have nothing better to do this evening, look at the show notes from yesterday for specific information on Eyes on Earth tonight. We're going to go enjoy some live music. And if that is not your fancy, hopefully we'll get together sometime in the near future, maybe even tomorrow. Between now and then, have a great day.